Jay Fagan here with the Maddox Group and another OB3 update. This time it's an update to the update. OB3, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, OBA, ABA, HR1, the new tax bill for 2025. And I'm coming to you today with an update here from an IRS FAQ, frequently asked question, on the EV and solar credits. Electric vehicle, of course, for EV. According to OB3, you must take delivery, and you've heard this in our previous update, that you must take delivery on or before September 30th of 2025 to claim the electric vehicle tax credit for those eligible taxpayers. 150,000 adjusted gross income or below for single filers, 300,000 of course for joint filers, and not eligible for married filing separately. So September 30th, hard and fast deadline. Based on inventory, availability, contracts, trades, everyone was thinking you were probably not going to be able to get a car if you didn't have it ordered by the 1st of September. Well, here we are just before Labor Day, and IRS puts out this FAQ. We've had a chance to parse through it now. We want to get the update to you. And acquired has a new definition in IRS terms for this credit. You must have entered into a legally binding written agreement on or before September 30th, 2025, in order to get the $7,500 credit for new vehicles or the $4,000 credit for used vehicles. So acquired and written binding contract. Those are the two key phrases for the EV credits that we want to make sure you're aware of. Acquired ordinarily would mean you've taken delivery. In this case, they've expanded that under this section to say a written binding contract in which a payment has been made. Nominal down payment is how it is described here in the FAQ. So for folks who are thinking of buying a brand new solar electric vehicle, battery plug-in vehicle, what do we say by written binding contract? You're probably most familiar with Tesla or even Rivian, and where you can go online and you can fill out an order form and you can pay $250 and you have a agreement, right? You have a contract. You've placed an order. Unfortunately, I don't know that that's going to hold a lot of water. If we look at the Tesla buying experience, and our family's gone through this a couple of times, so we can describe it more in detail. Rivian, as I understand, is very similar. The order fee that we pay, the $250, is noted on the eventual paperwork, the contract. Here in California, you have a long form contract that you get a copy of whenever you finally sign. You electronically sign that when you buy through Tesla. That is an order fee, and your $250 is applied against it on the paperwork, but it is not a down payment. And so for the IRS purposes, we're going to take this to read as stated. Obviously, this hasn't been tested in tax law, hasn't gone before the tax court, nor will it have time to do so before September 30th of 2025. So we're going to take it as it's written in the agreement, and that's going to mean that a down payment has to be reported and paid as such. Now, in the case of a Tesla and the $7,500 tax credit, Tesla will allow you, and the IRS allows you to do the same, to apply that $7,500 against your down payment requirement. So some Tesla agreements, if they've got the, if you qualify, well-qualified buyer for a loan, and they've got incentivized agreements, 0% down or 3.49, or some incentivized interest agreement or lease agreement, then they say the down payment can be fulfilled. The down payment requirement, generally 5 to 15%, can be fulfilled by the tax credit. And the IRS FAQ is consistent with that. So if your particular agreement is not cash and it's a loan and it requires a down payment and the $7,500 will fulfill that, that's going to be consistent with the IRS. You wouldn't have to pay any more down if your deal didn't require it. So in practice, what we perceive to be the case, based on the FAQ and real life experience with buying cars, is that you need to get to the point that you're actually signing documents, and those documents have a defined down payment requirement, if any, and they're executed on or before September 30th, 2025. So in practicality, if you're a Tesla buyer, or a qualified electric vehicle that's similar process to Tesla, where most of this happens online. You're not going into a dealership. We believe you're going to have to get your trade qualified with Tesla ASAP if you have anyone. You're going to have a VIN assigned to your vehicle, and you're going to have financing and all of the steps required in order to get to the delivery point of the vehicle completed with Tesla or the other auto company in order to meet the requirements of the FAQ. So you're not necessarily going to get to the point where you're going to have to take delivery on the 30th of this month of September of 2025. You could take delivery later, but you're going to have to get to the signing point by September 30th. And generally that means that you've gone through all the steps necessary to have the vehicle ready to go. So our guidance to you, don't go into the dealership on the 30th and expect to get it all done unless you're paying cash. Okay? If you're paying cash, you can get it done probably that day. You can get Tesla to get it through. But I don't know that I would risk it. I think I would really try to get as far in advance as you can. Here we are at the 1st of September. I'd start that process now if you're thinking about it. If you're going through a traditional dealer for a used vehicle or for a new vehicle that meets the qualifications, but through a traditional dealer like a BMW or Jeep or something like that, you may have a little more leeway because you're actually got a finance office right there on site at your dealership generally, and you're able to process the paperwork and make the signatures and handle down payment and all that getting done at the time of the transaction, even if you might not accept delivery for another week or so thereafter. So update, got to have a written binding contract, must have a down payment, nominal if necessary, or some payment towards it, good faith payment made towards the vehicle, or a qualified trade-in applied towards the vehicle in order to meet the new extended deadline. Don't have to actually accept delivery of the vehicle by September 30th, 2025. Now, that's a little bit different based on this FAQ for qualified solar and battery energy efficiency property for homes, residential homes. So I'm going to talk about that briefly here. September 30th, we've got a modified extended deadline for the EV credit, but we do not have a modified extended deadline for solar and backup battery installations, Powerwall installations, and the like. That is hard and fast, December 31st, 2025. The project must be installed. Must be installed. Now, as a clarification, that doesn't mean you have your permission to operate from Pacific Gas and Electric or Con Edison or wherever your power company is. It doesn't mean that you have final sign off on all your permits. It means that the project, the solar project, the Powerwall, the battery backup project, whether it's Powerwall or Anchor or any of those other home battery systems that are out there, the project must be installed and able to operate. You must be able to use the property at that time. In our case, as many of you may know, we did solar over the summer, solar and Powerwall systems. And the day of our installation, the project was online and we were generating solar and we were charging our battery and we were using our battery that night to run our home. What we were not doing was transmitting power back to PG&E because we didn't have the final sign off on permits yet and we didn't have the permission to operate. But the project was installed and operational. And if that is done so by December 31st, 2025, and you've either financed or paid for the project in 2025, you will be eligible for the 5% tax credit. So we don't have an extended deadline for solar and home energy. We have a hard and fast December 31st must be usable, must be installed. But we do have this modified extended deadline, must be in a written contract with a down payment or trade by September 30th, 2025 for EVs, used and new. So that's the update. If you have any questions, of course, about these particulars and how they apply to you, please don't hesitate to reach out and give us a call. If you are shopping for a new vehicle, as you know, I'm not encouraging you to go out and buy cars you don't need. I'm not encouraging you to go into debt if you don't need to. It doesn't make sense for your family. But if you do, if this is a choice that you're wanting to make, you want to take advantage of the tax credit, this is the first week of September. I would be identifying getting that deal done right now. I will note, on a personal note, you've heard me rave about the Tesla Model Y. We just went through 2 weeks ago and got a new Model Y in our family, replaced my wife's car, and went through that process. It took, between trade and paperwork and getting the vehicle on site and all of that, It took the better part of 2 weeks to get that all done going through Tesla. We're very, very happy with the vehicle. I have rave reviews. I can talk about that another time. Very happy. My wife is ecstatic too. So that's fantastic news. But I just want to share from our own personal experience in this period as we're coming to the end of the third quarter of 2025, and there is the push to get these vehicles. It wasn't an overnight process. And so if this is something you're thinking about doing for you and your family, I would take advantage of it right away. If you are thinking about pulling the trigger on solar, in our particular situation, from design to installation was about 3 months, just a little over. We had design, kind of some back and forth on design. Then we went out to permitting after all of that was confirmed. That took just shy of a month. And then about 2 weeks later, our installation was scheduled. Thankfully, with Tesla, everything was done in one day. Different providers are different. I don't want to speak to how that would be for every solar and battery provider out there. And your particular installation may be larger or smaller than ours or more complex. It might take a little more time on installation. So the short of it is, if you're thinking about doing it, I'd be pulling the trigger this month to give you plenty of time to get fully installed by December 31st, 2025. Thanks so much. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Again, I'm Jay with the Maddox Group. Look forward to talking to you soon.